Thinking about starting your health coaching journey at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition? Use my ambassador code MeganMcCrory20 for exclusive discounts and special deals that are always going on. Click the link at the bottom of the show notes to take advantage of these deals. And yes, I do get a commission. Consider it your way of supporting the show. Thanks. Hello and welcome to the podcast all about becoming a health coach. I'm Megan McCrory, a certified international health coach, and I received my training from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Each episode, I recap what I've learned and how I'm using it in my health coaching practice. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm happy you found the podcast and a very special welcome to you. You may want to go back and listen from the beginning to hear more about my journey to becoming a health coach. So for episode 23, I am going to review one of IIN's advanced course series. They have several advanced courses that are only offered to students that have completed or have started the health coach training program. That's their big program. And I'm going to review the Hormone Health course. A lot of people have been asking me about the Hormone Health course. I also have done the Gut Health course, and I'll be reviewing the Gut Health course in another episode. I wanted to review the Hormone Health course first because I just finished it. So it's very fresh in my brain, and I'm very excited to inform you guys, is it really worth it to take this course? What do you get? What do you don't get? So let's go right into this. First, I'm going to tell you why I decided to enroll in the Hormone Health course. And I'm totally going to switch this back and forth, health hormone and hormone health. So sorry if I get that backwards now and then. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, to tell you the truth. Okay, so actually I purchased two courses in one. There was a special offering last year when I was in the health coach training program to buy one advanced course and get one half off. And that is what I did. So I actually purchased the Gut Health course and the Hormone Health course at the same time. And the combined special cost me $1,492. So it was off from the normal price of $995 per course. So I saved about $500. Both courses really interested me, again, for myself. A lot of you might, if you're listening to the series, the whole podcast series, you'll know that I started the whole health coaching thing also just for myself, not necessarily as a business. And I approached the Gut Health and Hormone Health courses the same way. I really took the courses to understand better gut health for myself and also for hormone health. So at the time, a year ago when I took the Gut Health course, the Hormone Health course wasn't offered at the same time, and I was also then doing two courses. That's another thing someone asked is, can you do an advanced course at the same time as you're doing the health coach training program at IIN? And yes, the answer is yes, you can start it. So I started my health coach training program in January 2018, and I started the Gut Health course in April of 2018, and I started the Hormone Health course in March 2018. I chose to do the Hormone Health course, or what I was hoping to get out of it is to really understand my hormones better. I had learned quite early at an early age that I did not care for hormonal birth control. So there was quite some time when I was not on any birth control at all. When I moved to Europe, I got onto the copper IUD, the intrauterine device. This is the only form of birth control that I saw that was really, let's say, reasonable, that doesn't have hormones. A little bit while later, there's a long story behind this, but essentially I had fibroids in my uterus. Now I realized that I had what was called estrogen dominance, mostly probably developed because of my coffee habit and consumption. Maybe there's some other, factors into that. But when I stopped drinking caffeine, and my fibroids stopped growing. So I really think that any female that's drinking a lot of caffeine throughout the day has a really, let's say you're putting yourself up for estrogen dominance, which is really what feeds those fibroids that are in your uterus. I ended up getting a hysterectomy in December of 2018. And you can let me know if anybody's interested in my story about the hysterectomy. I do still have my ovaries, and that's very important because that's actually where all your hormones, your sex hormones, come from as a female. So I also became very interested in the Hormone Health course because, and just in general, my own cycle, because now I no longer had any kind of menstrual, no menses to mark my hormone cycle. So it was kind of tricky to understand, okay, is this kind of feeling that I'm having, mood swings and aches and pains, is it because of my hormones that are still going through their normal cycle? Or is it because of something else? So I become very religious about tracking my hormones before I had the hysterectomy. So I have a very good legacy of my menstrual cycle, and I've just kept that going in my app to keep it aware to me where my hormone cycle is. So that's a little bit why I decided to enroll in the Hormone Health course. So here's some more details about the course. It takes about 7 months. So I started in April, I ended in October. And if you've taken the health coach training program, the structure is very similar to that in terms of how each of the modules are released and the structure within the learning system that they have for the IIN uses. Edlumina. That's the learning management system that they use. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through what it looks like, and just so you know, I will have the syllabus attached to the show notes that you can print out. That gives you much more, a much more specific overview of each of the modules. So each module opens every week, except for in case of holidays or tests. The modules are, let's say, far less content than the modules with the health coach training program. However, the content that is there is way more intense. So I spent just as much time in every module with the Hormone Health course than I did with the health coach training program. And the same was true for the gut health course as well. So at the beginning of every module, you'll have the learning objectives, a couple of bullet points on what you're going to learn in that module. Then there are anywhere between 1 to 3 videos, which ranged between about 20 to 50 minutes worth of content to watch. And that is, like I said, heavy content, lots of data, lots of information. Now, one of the things that they do differently in these 2 advanced courses is they give you a recap, a handout that kind of recaps all of the key points. Now, I always wrote my own notes, but let's say the second half of the Hormone Health course, I was a little behind on, and I used only the recaps for studying for the exam, and I did fine. So in addition to 1 to 3 videos, there's also anywhere between 1 to 3 handouts that you can review or you should review. They always provide also a reference handout, which is literally just a page of links that reference all of the information that they use to build this particular module. We have also homework assignments and then a quiz. So that is the structure of each module. There are 24 modules in the course. There are 2 tests, and it says in the syllabus that the tests are 50 questions long, but there's actually only 30 questions in the test. And these tests are multiple choice. You get 2 chances to take the test, and you have 2 hours per opportunity to take the test. The amount of time it took for me to study, as I mentioned, you have a minimum amount of time just to watch the videos, but it could range anywhere from about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours per module. And I would say that's doing the bare minimum. I didn't really do a lot of the homework assignments that they had. I didn't really read through a lot of the handouts that they had, simply because the course was running over the summer and I was quite busy. So I would say I did the bare minimum. So you could do a lot better than I did. With that said, I still passed the course. The test questions, you do need to have watched the material to understand the questions. And I printed out all of the recaps, which made it a little bit easier, but I still missed 3 questions out of 30, but I passed. So that's my experience with the actual course. The lectures are almost 100% done by the Learning Center people. So again, a big difference between the health coach training program, where there's a lot of guest lecturers and guest speakers. And in this program specifically, there was only one guest lecturer, and that was Christina Ulrecki, but I'll put a link to her page in the show notes. Now, another nice thing that they do for you in these courses, both the gut course and the hormone course, are these kind of done for you items in the business toolkit. So for example, in the Hormone Health course, there's a module on adrenal health. There is a module on thyroid health. There's a module on menopause. And in all of these cases, they give you also some done for you handouts, protocols, actually even, that you can use with your clients. That's very, very handy to have something to start with. So now I'm going to just run through all 24 modules and just give you kind of a title and a few words about each module so you'll know what's in it. But again, I will have the course syllabus available in the show notes. So they do give you a pre-course bonus module, which you can take. I don't think it counts towards anything, but it's something to kind of like give you something while you're waiting for the course to start. Okay, so module 1 is the introduction to the endocrine system. And the endocrine system is your hormonal system. So that's the medical term for your hormonal system, so the endocrine. And you might have heard the term an endocrinologist, and that is a doctor who specializes in hormones and hormone type problems. So you're going to get an overview of the endocrine system. That first module is pretty heavy with a lot of technical detail. Module 2 is understanding basic hormone imbalances. And this is where I really knew that hormones was super tricky, because when they talk about the hormone imbalances, it's really like if one hormone is off a little bit, let's say your cortisol, let's say you're stressed out, which means you have a lot more cortisol going through your body, which means that you're not producing as much progesterone, which means, you know what I mean? Like there's like this knock-on effect that goes through your body with one thing out, and then it kind of cycles back and it feeds this cycle. So to break the cycle, I think is pretty hard. You know what I mean? You have to find the first root cause and get that back on track, and then the next thing and the next thing. So after I watched that module, I realized how impactful the hormone imbalances can be in your life, how many people probably have imbalanced hormones, and then also how hard it is to get them back in balance. Module 3 is the conditions that are associated with hormonal imbalance. And in this course, it is a lot about the female hormones. That's pretty much just because female hormones are a little more complicated than the men's. But they do go into the fact that the men can also have hormone imbalances. Module 4 talks about maximizing nutrition to balance hormones. And I think this is incredibly powerful to understand that not giving your client like a specific diet, but to say like this specific food will help that specific hormone, or this specific food will help your liver do its detoxification process, which will help to process out all of the extra estrogen. So there is some really interesting stuff there with the nutrition. So module 4 is really, actually all the modules are pretty good. So that's one of the things I do like about these courses, is that I don't think any of the modules was a waste of time. So module number 5 is special diets for balancing hormones. So they talk about specific things that you can do. Module 6 is mighty micronutrients, and they explain how vitamins, minerals, and trace elements, what do we need, why do we need them, where do we get them from, and how to supplement in case they don't get enough. Module 7 is balancing blood sugar for optimal hormone health. Blood sugar is super, super important. I've been in the diabetes care industry for about 15 years now, so I know a lot about blood sugar and blood sugar management. And this is probably one of the things that I think, obviously, with the rate of type 2 diabetes, people need to know more about. But I don't think people realize that insulin is a hormone. And that hormone is created with the other hormones. So when you're talking about hormone health, blood sugar is an important topic to talk about as well. So modules 8 and 9 are all about the adrenals and how they work, what they do, and then, of course, talking about the HPA axis dysfunction. So that's these type of connections between the different parts in your body. And there's a lot of these axes, and they go through and explain a lot of them. And there's a lot of acronyms. There's a lot of, let's say, complex words in these modules. So I think that's another reason why it takes a little bit more time to go through. And I just made a mistake. Actually, there's 3 modules, 8, 9, and 10, that are all about the adrenals. So there's a lot of information about that. And they also provide you with one of those done-for-you adrenal health protocols. So that's helpful if you have a client that has symptoms of kind of adrenal fatigue, or they need more support for their adrenals, then they do provide a health protocol for that. The last 2 modules in the first test, 11 and 12, are both covering the connection between gut health and hormones. And so the fact that I took the gut health course first and then the hormone health course, this was very helpful for me to see them both working side by side then. They go into, basically how, when the gut dysfunction is down, how that is affecting your hormone health, and vice versa. So after module 12, we had the first test. And then let's go into the second half of the course. So module 13 is a crash course in men's hormonal health with Dr. Susie Gronowski. So again, I made a mistake. There is more than one special person in here. So there is two ladies that talked through this course. And she talks about men and sexual function, negative effects of stress on the men's hormones. So that's, I think, the only module that was really focused and dedicated on men's health specifically. Module 14 and 15 are all about thyroid health. Thyroid is, again, one of those things that I think maybe a lot of people are imbalanced in. Maybe they don't necessarily have a disease or a problem that is so noticeable that a doctor's going to pick up on it. But let's say maybe it's not optimal. And that's one of the things I learned. And one of the things they do go over in these courses is tests. And they talk about tests and what you should look for, and how conventional medicine will have a range for a thyroid test. And that range may be normal, but it may not be optimal. So that's also something that you should always bear in mind when your client might show you some of their blood tests and how you look at those. Of course, you're not supposed to be really, doing any kind of, let's say, diagnosis or anything like that. But my clients send me their blood work, and I can just look at it and kind of see an overall picture of what's going on. It's very helpful. Okay, so module 16 is all about menstruation. And they talk about the 4 cycles of the menstrual, 4 phases of the menstrual cycle, what a normal cycle should look like. They talk about what it looks like when there's problems. That's super interesting, the 4 phases. Number 17, we had another guest speaker. This is Krista Orecchio, healthy fertility and pregnancy lady. Again, I'll put the links to their websites in the show notes. And she talks about how to support fertility and conception. And also she talks about like a lot the hurdles that couples together face, because a lot of times, of course, people think it's maybe necessarily the woman, but a man can also have problems with hormones that is also affecting his part of the job, let's say. Module 18 is the female reproductive system. This is one of the modules that if you watch on your iPad, you shouldn't be watching on the bus or a train, because there's lots of pictures. So it's quite graphic, and which is good. I mean, let's say I'm not ashamed or embarrassed. I would just think that somebody glancing at it might be a little like it might make someone blush. Module 19 is all about low libido and pelvic pain conditions, and they do also give you a kind of a 6 ways to boost your sex drive handout that you can give to your clients. Module 20 is on menopause. This for me is very, very interesting to hear. I have a lot of women in my life that I know that have gone through menopause, and some of them it's really hard, and other people, they like basically don't have any symptoms at all. And I really want to dive in more into menopause. I just started with a new client who is going through menopause, and the reason she's reached out to me was specifically to work on hormone health. So I think that's fascinating, and again, one of those universe things where I'm just done with my hormone health course, and she wants to talk about menopause and how she can balance her hormones. So I'm really excited to be working with someone on that to kind of reinforce everything that I just learned. Module 21 is how to detox to balance hormones. I mentioned a little bit at the top of the show about how I believe that my liver function was not at its peak because of my overconsumption of caffeine, which did not allow for the estrogen to be processed out of my body, and therefore producing some estrogen dominance, because the estrogen was being recycled back through my body. And I think this is probably one of the first place I'll start with any client, is to reinforce their liver function and get them eating a few extra foods that will help with liver function, decreasing a little bit of caffeine. And then there are some supplements that you can use that support healthy liver function. Module 22 is toxin identification and genetic mutations. And this one was super important for me, because I have a couple people in my life who are, let's say, probably should have been tested for some genetic mutations. There's a specific one, MTHFR, which is a genetic mutation that affects the methylation cycle in your body, which is part of your detoxification processes. And I think everybody has heard about folic acid and folate for pregnant women who are trying to get pregnant or have, are pregnant, and about the functionality with folate and folic acid in the development of the fetus's brain and brainstem. But actually that same genetic mutation, just because of the pathways that it hits, can also, be linked to things like fibromyalgia. So I have a friend with fibromyalgia, and I informed her, like, have you been checked for this mutation? Because the mutation is quite common. And then there are things you can do, some like supplements like methylated folate that she could take to support that part of the detoxification, and that might support her symptoms with fibromyalgia. Same thing for a lady I know who's been trying to get pregnant, and if you've had several miscarriages, they should check for this mutation because it could be similarly affecting the implantation, or the fetus's growth. So I thought that was something, first of all, something I'd never heard about before, and neither one of these ladies had heard about that mutation or knew if their doctors had tested them. So this is exactly the type of thing that I try to keep in my toolbox when I'm talking with clients. Obviously, I can't say that mutation is affected either one of them, but I can say that I know already what the symptoms are here and the kinds of things that are affected by this mutation, and offer them some advice to work with their doctor and to get that tested for. If it comes back, that there's no problem, fine. That's one thing you can check off. Okay, so module 23 is understanding test options and results. And this one was interesting. They talk through a lot of several tests that different types of tests you can take. And the last module is all about supplements. So module 24, supplementing for balanced hormones and what different supplements you can take and so on. So that's an overview of the course modules and syllabus. Now, I would go a little bit in the pros and cons. So I was trying to think through what would I say here. So the pros are that it's, as I just talked through the modules, it's very comprehensive in covering a lot of different areas of hormone health. They do give you a ton of information, a ton of resources, a ton of references. So I think that's a pro. It's a 7-month course. If you're not doing, let's say, if you're not overworked, it's a very easy course to manage. Even if you are late, you can catch up. It's not the end of the world. So I would say that from my point of view, there's no reason why I wouldn't recommend this course. I'm trying to think of any cons, and the price, I guess, if you can't afford the cost of the course, which again, without any kind of discount, is $995. If you can't afford it, I think that's probably the biggest con. Can you research your own hormone? Of course, you can probably buy a textbook with a lot of this stuff in it. And there's information, of course, on the internet, but at least with IIN, they frame it in the way of how to use this information with your clients. So I think that's also a nice way. So I don't really see any cons other than price if you can't afford it. So if you can afford it and you have the time, I think it's a very valuable course to take. So my takeaways, like on my website, which I'll link I'll link my specific page to my hormone health stuff on the show notes. I had put up at the beginning of the year a page that said Hormone Health and that I'm creating a program and to let me know if you're interested in it. And I didn't really promote it anywhere. I didn't push it anywhere. And I had like 4 or 5 people just sign up by randomly finding it, So I think as a coach, if you want to add something like Hormone Health to your toolkit and use it as a promotional thing or whatnot, I think it's definitely a very wide open field. There are a lot of people that have problems with this, a lot of females that have problems with this. So I see it as a valuable marketing tool as well. I can feel very comfortable now writing a couple more blog posts, maybe doing a couple podcast episodes. So I think it gives me a lot more content. It also helps me feel more comfortable talking about that, and also gives me a resource where I can go back and kind of rewatch something or reread something if I'm not sure. And with the references that they provide, do more research on my own. At this point, I do want to add a few disclaimers, which I don't normally do in my episodes, but I felt important to do this. So one, like IIN can change the cost of their course at any time. And also, by the way, it's only open like maybe once or twice a year. So you really have to catch it. And again, if you're not enrolled at IIN, you're never going to see this because you have to go through the IIN Health Coach Training Program. You have to be part of this group in order to see these advanced courses. The cost of the course can also change, and you might get lucky and, like me, buy one course, get one half off type of a thing, and that's great. And then I also need to let you know that, everything I've said here is my view. It's not something, as I am an ambassador for IIN, but I'm not speaking on behalf of IIN. So if you're not yet have taken IIN's Health Coach Training Program and you're thinking about joining IIN, you can use me as an ambassador. I'll link to my ambassador page at IIN, and then I can help you get started there. But in terms of the hormone health course and gut health course, there's really no kind of, I'm not affiliated with those courses directly, if that makes sense. So there's my disclaimers. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. So some of the things I will have available for you to print out in the show notes is, again, the IIN syllabus. I'm going to have the show notes available. I'm going to also put out an example references, example homework, and example done for you sheet so you can see what those look like. So that about wraps it up for the review of the Hormone Health course. I would like to remind you that I do have a Facebook group for my podcast called Becoming a Health Coach. I'll link to that in the show notes. And I want to shout out to a few recent followers. So I want to say hi to Kim Fries, Laura Conde, Leah Barsky, Angie Fuller, and Stephanie Rosera Perez. Thank you, ladies, for joining my Facebook page and being there. I appreciate that. I would like to do a lot more on my Facebook page, maybe some live videos. Let me know how much interaction can we have. People do message me through there, and I do respond to the messenger as quickly as I can. But I would like to use that in the Facebook page in a way more to communicate directly with you guys, listen to the questions and concerns that you guys have. And as I just mentioned as well, I am an IIN ambassador. So if you do have any questions specifically about IIN, I can help you with that. That's it for this episode. I hope the review of IIN's advanced course on hormone health has been helpful for you on your journey to becoming a new health coach. Head over to the Facebook group and let me know what your thought is on the episode, or please email me at becomingahealthcoach@gmail.com. And for links to the resources I mentioned, check out the show notes. Thank you again for spending this time with me. I'm Megan McCrory, and you've been listening to How I'm Becoming a Health Coach. Until next time, stay happy and healthy. Hey, did you know that I have another podcast? It's called So Frickin' Healthy, and I started that podcast in 2022 with another IIN health coach named Donna Levy-Hoffman. So if you love this podcast, you're probably gonna like that one, because all we do is talk about health stuff. We have great experts on. Yeah, we have a really, really good time. So join us over there. The link is in the show notes. It's called So Frickin' Healthy because, we had to keep it a little bit PG. See you there.